Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Friday night, May 10, 2024. Now before you jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. You guys have been doing such a good job liking these videos recently. I see more than 100 likes on most of the videos that I posted this week, and I am grateful. We know that if we actually like the videos, YouTube pushes out the video out to more weather lovers just like you guys to increase this weather community of persons in Jamaica and the Caribbean who fancy the weather and detailed weather videos like this one. So also feel free to share this video with your friends, relatives, your church brethren, whoever it may be, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Also leave a comment down below letting me know what the that's been like in your ear recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have two troughs of low pressure right there off to the east and to the northeast of the Caribbean. We can still see that the entire Atlantic basin is still being dominated by that ridge of high pressure that we know is responsible for sending all of those easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And with all of these easterly trade winds, we have the low level clouds that have some amount of isolated showers in there, not to mention some amount of dust from Africa. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with the troughs that we just mentioned right there, another trough right here, and we can also see the low level flow of the clouds across the Caribbean from east to west. We also see the upper level clouds being blown off by the wind shear from the west off towards the, let's say, west or to the east southeast. So from the west northwest to the east southeast across the Caribbean, we saw those high cold cloud tops being blown off across the Dominican Republic today during the afternoon hours. So they definitely got in some amount of thunderstorm activity. We can also see the usual activity across sections of southern Central America and northern South America, and we'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Friday, May 10. It was stated that we would ever see some amount of afternoon rainfall across sections of some northern and western parishes in Jamaica. And just for reference, we know northern parishes, we're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, and let me reiterate, some, not all. So some of these parishes would have received some rainfall, along with some western parishes. We know the western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall. So St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney. And what ended up happening? At 4:15 p.m., the visible satellite images were posted on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica. Keep in mind that they are not only posted on our Twitter page, but they are also posted on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can see right there that the visible satellite images were definitely posted, and they showed cloud cover and isolated shower activity, especially across sections of some northern and western parishes in Jamaica. So that indeed confirms the rainfall, and we even had some sparkling yellow dots in there, especially across the cockpit country, across northern St. Elizabeth right there, that we know indicates some amount of lightning flashes, if not lightning strikes. So we definitely had that thunderstorm activity, not to mention these high cold cloud tops being blown off towards the east southeast by that upper level wind shear, just as predicted. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can still see that we had some popcornish looking clouds across sections of the west, bringing some amount of isolated showers to sections of, let's say, Hanover, sections of Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth, southern St. James, southwestern Trelawney, even section of St. Anne, we're getting in some amount of isolated shower activity. If we take a look at the latest infrared satellite images, we can see that we don't have much going on right now. Most of the clouds have dissipated, but we still have some milky white clouds right there across the southwest as we speak. The Cuban Doppler radar images aren't showing much, but we do see some dots of greens right there off the north coast that indicate some leftover showers from what was affecting sections of western St. Anne and Trelawney earlier. As relates to the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Saturday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18 on Saturday. When you calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Saturday. And we see Jamaica right here embedded in some yellows and some oranges that represent 1 to up to even 4 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of May across Jamaica are about the same as 89 degrees Fahrenheit. When we take a look at the thermometer, 89 degrees Fahrenheit, it's about the same as 31 degrees Celsius, sorry. So if we're going to be getting up to 4 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures, we should be anywhere from 31 to 35 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on a Saturday. As it relates to the dry air map, we know the dry air is represented by what we see on the key on the bottom, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we can see that for the most part across the Caribbean, it's a mixture of some moist air and some dry air, as we can see by the blues. The yellows that represent the low end of the scale. Jamaica embedded in some amount of yellows and some slight oranges, even some blues here and there. So it's a mixture of some amount of dry air and the moist air. However, as it relates to the Saharan dust is definitely here. We can see all the browns represented right here, stretching all the way from Africa across the mid-development region into the Caribbean. So we're definitely being plagued by some amount of Saharan dust. So don't be surprised if some of you guys, asthma or sinusitis get triggered. Don't be surprised if the sky doesn't look as blue as it normally looks because of some amount of hazy weather taking place. Jamaica is definitely right here, and we're definitely going to be getting in on some amount of hazy skies courtesy of the dust from the Sahara Desert. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are showing that for the most part, there should be those lighter shades of blues stretching all the way from the north coast into the western portion of the island, while the darker shades of blues should be across section of the southern to the eastern side of the island. We know the lighter shades of blues represent anywhere from 0 to 0.5 for meter wave height, while the darker shades of blues represent anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave height. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this, and that's due to the fact that the winds are going to be strongest, especially on the south coast, where the wind should be coming in more from a east or from an east southeasterly kind of fashion. On the north coast, more so from the east, even curving downward, but it's not so strong on the north coast. And we also see that air is going to be piling up across sections of some central and western parishes in Jamaica, so we can't rule out some clouds building during the daytime heating hours and causing some amount of isolated afternoon showers across sections of mainly central and western Jamaica. And just for reference, we know central parishes because we already mentioned western parishes: Middlesex, St. Anne, St. Mary, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, all of those parishes in the county of Middlesex. So central and western parishes could be getting in on most of that rainfall on the Saturday afternoon. And with the upper level winds coming in from the west, it's not going to be favoring any side of the island more than anything. It's definitely going to be equal, so maybe southern areas of some northern parishes and northern areas of some southern parishes, mainly inland areas of some central and western parishes is what's going to be, getting affected in terms of the rainfall. But with the winds coming in from the east-southeast, we can't rule out an isolated shower activity affecting sections of maybe St. Thomas in the morning hours, as we see some blues right there off the coast, even on land, at about 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 5 a.m. Jamaica time. That's on the Euro. What does the GFS show? Something similar. Some blues that represent rainfall right there off the coast of St. Thomas, Portland. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Maybe some quick isolated shower activity in the early morning hours. But what about the afternoon hours? The Euro and the GFS models are in consensus that there's definitely going to be some amount of isolated shower activity, mainly across sections of some central and western parishes, and we see that on both the Euro and the GFS models. Maybe some of that spilling into sections of St. Andrew as well. It's an eastern parish, so which is why we're saying mainly across sections of central and western parishes. So we'll see exactly what unfolds with that. Either way, we're in the month of May. We're getting rainfall, even although it's not much. The GFS showing up to 0.17 for the rainfall totals from now up until 10 p.m. on Saturday. You are showing up to 0.31 of an inch of rainfall for the rainfall totals. We'll take it. We're in the month of May. We're in our secondary rainy season. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get, even although we usually receive up to 213 millimeters of rainfall during this month. So we'll take the rainfall. Hopefully it puts some kind of a dent in the drought that some areas are experiencing as we speak. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have a lot of activity as usual taking place across sections of the southeastern portions of Central America, northern South America getting in on the action as well. So French Guyana, Suriname, Guyana, sections of Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, and Costa Rica as usual getting in on some amount of afternoon thunderstorm activity. We can also see that sections of Haiti and the Dominican Republic got in on some amount of activity as well. We also see some of that rainfall affecting sections of the northern Caribbean islands, Puerto Rico, and the areas to the east of there. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of those islands, we can even make out that they are still receiving some of that rainfall even as we speak. Look at all of that rainfall to the south of Puerto Rico. The green, yellows, reds, definitely some heavy rainfall offshore. Some rainfall to the east of the Dominican Republic as well. Section of the British Virgin Islands getting on some isolated shores, especially to the north of that island. Not so much activity taking place right now across sections of St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla and Barbuda, or Antigua and Barbuda, or Anguilla. But we do see some dots of green, some hit or miss showers here and there. As relates to what's happening on the Barbados radar, we don't see much taking place at all for Barbados. Just some isolated shore activity heading into sections of St. Vincent as we speak, coming in from the east. If we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see all of that rainfall that we just mentioned across sections of Colombia, sections of Suriname and French Guiana, not to mention some amount of isolated shore activity across sections of western Honduras and Guatemala. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that there's going to be above normal temperatures as represented by the yellows and the oranges, reaching all the way from the main development region across the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico, Central America. Definitely going to be getting on those above normal temperatures, as we can see all of these darker shades of red. So we're talking about anywhere from 1 to up to even 5 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. The highest temperatures should be across Central America right there. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Saturday, we can see all of the browns that represent the Saharan dust stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean, even spilling into sections of the Gulf of Mexico. Definitely section of northern South America going to be getting in on the action. The Leeward and Windward Islands, section of Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Central America getting in on the action as well. So we know hazy skies are in the forecast, and some respiratory illnesses might be triggered in some individuals. So try to take necessary precautions, wear your mask, and have your meds handy. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see a mixture of those lighter shades of blues and those darker shades of blues that we can see by the key on the bottom right that represent anywhere from 0 to 0.5 meter wave heights up to 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS models. And this is due to the fact that the winds are not going to be that strong at all. We see the bluish greens and the greens, which we know represent anywhere from 0 to 5 knots, maybe up to 5 to 10 to even 50 knots in some spots. And the general direction across the eastern Caribbean seems to be coming in from the east-southeast to the northwest, then the central to the western Caribbean from the east right there. But what about the rainfall forecast now? Both the Euro and the GFS models right here are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Saturday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these areas are going to be picking up the most in the way of rainfall. And we see the consensus. That's what we look for when we're looking at these maps. We look for consensus with what both of them are showing. And there's definitely some amount of consensus in terms of the rainfall totals for sections of the southeastern portions of Cuba, sections of Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic. If they're not already getting that rainfall, they're going to be getting it within the next 24 hours. Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, sections of Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Bart's might get on the action as well. Not to mention northern South America, the islands that we just mentioned regarding the satellite images. So French Guyana, Suriname, Guyana, section of Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, definitely a section of Costa Rica. Look at those purples right there. That could be up into the 3 to 4 inch of rainfall or inches of rainfall range. So that could trigger some amount of isolated flash flooding. And we can also see some rainfall heading into sections of coastal areas of eastern Nicaragua, western Nicaragua, section of southwestern Honduras, El Salvador, and even Guatemala getting in on the action. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this when we actually take a look at both maps. And this is what we look for. We look for what both of them agree on, and the fact that they are agreeing so much in terms of this rainfall total forecast means that chances of it actually happening are, great. So that's it for today's forecast, and thanks for watching.